The next morning, Psyche's sisters came again to the mountaintop, for somehow it was borne in upon their minds that they should find out what had become of her, although they had sought in vain for any trace of her the day before. But great was their astonishment, as they began lamenting aloud and dolefully crying out their lost sister's name, to hear her voice calling from far below. "I am here, dearest ones. Here is your Psyche. Do not weep any more, for all's well with me." And with that, before they knew where they were, Zephyrus caught up the two of them and carried them gently down into the valley, and Psyche ran into their arms, laughing for joy. And all three embraced and kissed and greeted each other 100 times over. Never was such a happy meeting. The two proud princesses forgot their past ill will for the moment and shared in Psyche's gladness. Then she told them she was married, and said, "Come, sisters, come and see my house, and we will make good cheer." But when she brought them into the palace and showed them all the treasures there, when they heard the voices of her troop of unseen servants and saw she was waited on like a queen, when they had bathed luxuriously and eaten their fill of dainties fit for the gods, they were ready to burst with envy. And the eldest, being by nature very curious, began to ask Psyche who her husband was, and of what rank, and how he came to have such a magnificent house. But Psyche remembered his warning, and answered hurriedly, "Oh, he is a young man with flaxen hair, his great delight is hunting on the hills, so he is seldom at home in the daytime." And in dread of being caught tripping if she were questioned further, she durst not let her sisters stay any longer, but filled their laps with gold, silver, and jewels, and called Zephyrus to carry them away. As they took their way homeward from the mountain, the two princesses could not contain their rage and envy. "Well, to be sure," began the eldest, "it is a cruel thing that yonder chit of a girl should have such luck, while you and I, her elders and betters, are mere beggars and nobodies compared to her. Little simpleton, why should she have all that huge wealth, that she has not sense enough to use properly? You saw, did you not, sister, what was in the house, what heaps of jewels, what glittering robes, and the very floor we trod on made of gems? Why, one would almost think she has got a god for her husband, and I am sure she puts on the airs of a goddess, giving her orders to those voices, and to the winds of heaven. Anyway, if she spoke the truth, her husband is young, and it seems she can do just as she likes. So there's Psyche, the happiest woman alive, while poor I am married to a man older than my father, who is as bald as a coot and as weak as a baby, and shuts me up all day in the house. And I am worse off still," said the other sister, "for my husband is so deformed and crippled with gout that I might as well be without one, for all the good he is to me. Nay, 'tis a servant, not a wife, I am to him. Would you believe it, I have to rub and bandage his gouty fingers myself, and soil my delicate, white hands with nasty ointment and dirty rags. And so you have got a tyrant too, my poor dear? Well, when I think how ill-used we both are, I cannot abide to see that hussy Psyche's good luck. And she's so puffed up with pride, too. Pray, did you notice how arrogantly she behaved to us? Showing off her treasures so boastfully, and throwing a little gold into our laps as if she were giving alms to beggars, and then my lady is tired of our company and orders us to be blown away. As true as I live, I will strip the minx of all her grandeur, and if you are of the same mind, sister, take my advice, and let us tell nobody, not even our parents, that we have seen her. For it takes the guilt off good fortune if nobody knows you have got it. So to begin with, we will hold our tongues about Psyche's, just to teach her that her sisters are not to be looked down upon for nothing. But now we must go home to our own poor houses, till we have thought out some plan to ruin the proud upstart." So these two wicked women agreed together, and they hid away the treasure that Psyche had given them and came before their parents feigning bitter grief. When the old king and queen saw them still weeping and lamenting and tearing their hair, it redoubled their own sorrow, but little cared the hard-hearted princesses. Filled with malice and envy, they bade their unhappy parents farewell and took ship for their homes, and on the voyage, they talked of nothing else but how they might contrive the downfall and death of their sister. Soon after this, Psyche's husband warned her again in the night time that a great danger threatened her from her sisters. "Be on your guard, sweet wife," said he, "for those treacherous women are busy plotting to lay a snare for you, and their purpose is to persuade you to look on my face, which, if you do, as I have told you already, you will behold it no more forever. So if the evil hags come again, as I doubt not they will, it would be far safer not to see or speak with them. But if you cannot bear that, take heed at least not to answer one word if they question you about your husband." Now, sure enough, the wicked sisters presently resolved on a plot and took ship again to carry out their malicious intent. Then Psyche's husband warned her yet again, and with passionate earnestness. "Beloved," he said to her, "now comes the fateful day. Now our household enemies are mustered and marching in arms against us. Your two sisters have drawn their swords to slay you. Alas, what a fierce assault we must stand this day. Oh, sweet Psyche, have pity on yourself and on me and save us both from this deadly peril. Do not, I entreat you, see or speak to these accursed women, who are unworthy to be called your sisters, being full of unnatural enmity and hatred. Do not listen. Do not answer them when they come today to the mountain and lure you, like the sirens, with their deluding voices." When Psyche had heard these words, she sighed sorrowfully and said, "Dear husband, this long time you have found me faithful and true, and believe me, I always shall be. So pray bid your Zephyrus bring down my sisters as he did before. For I think you ought to let me see them, to make up for not seeing you, which indeed I never will try to do, and nobody shall ever persuade me into such disobedience. No, no, I am content not to see your dear face, while I can feel these soft cheeks, this lovely hair, this beautiful body. I do not mind the darkness that hides you, for you are the light of my soul." Then her husband, being as it were bewitched with these words and overborne by the sweet violence of her caresses, wiped away Psyche's tears with his hair and yielded to her will. And when morning dawned, he departed as his custom was. That same day the wicked sisters landed and went straight to the mountain, without visiting their parents, and in their eagerness, they leapt off the rock immediately. And that would have been the end of them, had not Zephyrus been waiting for them by his Lord's command, and brought them down safely, though much against his will. This time Psyche did not meet them in the valley, so they ran to the house, and burst into her chamber in most unmannerly fashion, without asking leave. And having found their prey, these harpies embraced her with many fond words, saying they could not rest till they had thanked her for the splendid presents she had given them. Psyche received them lovingly as before, again perfumed baths and a delicious banquet were prepared for them. After that, Psyche called for music, and straightway an invisible harper played upon his harp, while sweet voices sang together and flutes and pipes made up the concert, to the great delight of the evil sisters. But even this celestial harmony could not charm the envy, hatred, and malice out of their souls. It no sooner ceased, than they set to work on their plot against Psyche, asking who her husband was, and what was his rank and lineage. The poor, simple girl, forgetting what she had told them before, invented a different story. She said that he was a rich merchant of good family, a middle-aged man, and his hair was turning grey. And then, being again much afraid of their questioning, she filled their laps with treasure and called Zephyrus to carry them away. "Well, sister," began the eldest princess as they went down from the mountain, "what do you say to this manifest lie of Psyche's? First, she told us her husband was a young man and had flaxen hair, and now she says it is half grey with age. What kind of young man is that, pray, who turns into an old one in a few months? Either I am much mistaken, or the cursed wench made up these lies about her husband because she has never seen him. Now, if that be so, he is certainly some god, who comes to her invisibly. Think of that, sister, Psyche is married to a god. And when she becomes a mother, as I am sure that she will, her child will be divine. But if I let that happen, I can see my mother glorying over it, but please heaven she never shall, then will I go and hang myself. So now let us go to our parents and make some pretext for visiting them again. We will lodge with them tonight and consult together what is to be done next." Till late that night the wicked sisters sat plotting, and in the morning they once more climbed the mountain and were carried down into the valley on the wings of Zephyrus. When these hypocrites had forced tears into their eyes, they called lamentably to Psyche, who came running out to them in great alarm and asked what had befallen. Then said the eldest sister, "Alas, child, you little know your dreadful plight. You sit at home, happy and careless, but we, in our sisterly love, have been diligently inquiring into your affairs, and now we have made a discovery which we dare not keep from you. Remember how the oracle of Apollo declared that you should be married to a serpent. It was but too true, for we are credibly informed that a huge and venomous serpent, with ravenous, gaping jaws, comes to be with you every night. This we have learned from the country folk and from hunters on the hills, who assure us that they saw him only last night swimming across the river to you. And they are certain he only pampers you with delicate fare to make the better meal of you before long. So now consider, dear Psyche, what you will do. Will you hearken to your sisters, or will you stay with the serpent until he swallows you whole? For we are ready to save you, but if you choose certain death rather than give this secret, shameful luxury and the serpent's pretended love, at least you must own we have done our duty in warning you. Alas for poor silly Psyche! As she listened to this tale, she clean forgot her husband's warning and her own promise to be on her guard. She turned white with terror, and came near fainting, so that for some minutes she could not utter a word. At last, in a trembling voice, she said, "Oh, dearest sisters, I thank you with all my heart for your great kindness, and I feel sure it is all true what you have been told. For now I must confess that I have never seen my husband, and I know nothing about him, only I hear his voice in the night. And he always goes away before morning, as if he dreaded the daylight, and that does look as if he were a beast. What is more, I dare not try to see him, for he threatens me with some awful misfortune if ever I should attempt it. Oh, pray, dear sisters, if you can think of any way to save me, tell me quickly what to do." The wicked sisters saw with glee that their prey had fallen into the trap, but they worked still more upon her fears by dark and dismal hints, until they had made her well-nigh desperate. Then said the eldest, "There is only one way for you to escape certain death, my poor girl. Tonight, when you go to bed, put a sharp razor under your pillow, and hide a lighted lamp behind some curtain in your room. And when the serpent comes, mind you let him suspect nothing, but dissemble with him until he falls fast asleep. Then you must get up very quietly, taking the razor, and fetch out the lamp, and then, with one brave stroke, cut off his venomous head." At that, Psyche gave a great shudder. "Oh, I shall never dare," she cried. "Besides, how am I to get away, afterwards?" "Leave that to us, child," said the other sister. "We will be close at hand and provide means to bring you safe home. And once you are free of that monster, you shall be married to some handsome young prince and live happy ever after. But meantime it will not do for us to stay here, so bid your servant Zephyrus carry us up the mountain." And taking a hasty farewell of Psyche, for indeed they were in a hurry to be gone, lest some harm might come to them from their treachery, the two wicked sisters departed as they had come. But no sooner were they landed on the hilltop than they ran full speed down to the harbor, and sailed away to their own country.